filed by the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing on behalf of more than 4,000 current and former black workers in the world's most valuable car company. The largest racial discrimination suit ever brought by the state by the number of workers affected. Tesla workers in Buffalo announced that they were unionizing with a new independent union, Tesla Workers United. Very cool stuff. It's actually being headed up. I said it's an independent union. Maybe it's actually associated with Workers United.
Yeah, it is through Workers United.
Because it's headed up by some of the same people that kicked off the Starbucks Workers United stuff. They're helping this campaign. So they announced a campaign, they filed for an election, and literally the next day, dozens of workers, many of whom were organizers, all of whom I think were organizers, most of them, were fired by Tesla, by Elon's company, in retaliation for their union organizing. And this is like the real free speech stuff right here, right? I mean, they were fired, and so they're going to be out of work for months at the least, until they get reinstated by the NLRB, presumably, hopefully. But the best case scenario for them right now is that they're out of work for months, right? Why are they out of work for months? Because they have the wrong opinion about unions. And they're doing stuff about that. That's why. Not because they were bad employees, not because they're, whatever. It was because they're organizing. And if any of these people that have been parading around trumpeting Elon as the champion of free speech and all this stuff, if any of them even gave like half a damn about this, they would be calling him out. If they gave half a damn about actual free speech, about working people actually having the ability to speak freely, to freely assemble and associate and protest and all of this stuff, they would be calling him out. But they're not. They're ignoring it while covering for him.
Right. Well, keep in mind, Jacob, when they talk about free speech, what they mean is the right to say slurs on their favorite internet websites.
Or the right to have your right-wing book on Amazon.com.
That's free speech. Yeah, I mean, because these are the same people who are pulling books out of libraries and schools. It's pretty egregious to fire the folks the very next day. That I found a little shocking that they would be that blatant. My understanding is Tesla's already put out a statement saying something to the effect of, we were already going to fire these people. It has nothing to do with, it's just, we were going to do a 4% reduction in workforce, and just so happens that we rolled up a bunch of organizers and union supporters while doing this literally the day after the campaign launches.
Totally a coincidence. But this isn't uncommon, and we're going to get to this when we play this clip, or this is going to be relevant when you listen to Taibbi on Joe Rogan's show talking about how this is all coming out of nowhere. For some people, the issue with Elon Musk is coming out of nowhere. No doubts. For some people, this is coming out of nowhere, and they didn't care until he became part of the national conversation, and they were told because they're good liberals or whatever, they should not like him because he's problematic or whatever. But there have been real issues with Elon Musk forever as a boss, and some of these, he's fired union organizers in his plants before. He's also been sued for racism in his place. Yeah,
I distinctly remember the More Perfect Union reporting about the racism out in California.
Here's just a couple of things from an LA Times article that I pulled up. A single mother was excited to land a job at Tesla. About 3 years in, she was fired, she said, after complaining that black workers were frequently called the N-word on the assembly line. A former refinery worker couldn't wait to get into green energy. She said she soon found herself and other black workers assigned to the most arduous tasks in a corner of the factory coworkers called the plantation. An Army veteran was promoted to a fleet manager job. He said he was fired after he complained that his boss called him and 2 black coworkers monkeys. Their accounts expand on allegations in a February 9th lawsuit filed by the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing on behalf of more than 4,000 current and former black workers at the world's most valuable car company. The largest racial discrimination suit ever brought by the state by the number of workers affected. This is not new. This is not new. And it shouldn't be surprising, you know, because he comes out of a family with that, you know,
he gets it honestly.
Owned an apartheid South Africa emerald mine, right? So, you know, he gets it honestly, certainly. But and the thing about Matt Taibbi is that he knows that. He knows that there are real critiques against Elon Musk that is not new. And Matt Leck from Left Reckoning has pointed out, has retweeted a tweet from Matt Taibbi from 2018, from 5 years ago, where he was about to go on the Michael Brooks show. And he said, I'm about to go on the Michael Brooks show. They're really tearing Elon Musk a new one in a flattering way, as if this is a good thing that they're tearing Elon Musk a new one. So he knows this. He knows that there are real critiques, that Elon Musk is actually really bad. He's a boss. And he has all of the bad things that go along with being a boss. But now that his bread is being buttered by Elon Musk, let's see what he has to say about him. Play that.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. There's an amazing amount of resistance against him. And, you know, there's just the publicity campaign against him has been fascinating to watch. People go from thinking that Elon Musk is the savior that's bringing us these amazing electric cars and engineering new reusable rockets to he's an alt-right piece of shit who wants Donald Trump back in the office. And it's like, it's very wild.
The speed with which they can sort of shuffle somebody into the Hitler of the Month Club routine, right? Like, you know, we've always done this with foreigners, you know, whether it's Noriega or Saddam Hussein or Milosevic or Assad or whatever it is. Like, we have a playbook for cranking out negative information about, you know, foreigners who get in our way for whatever reason. But now we've kind of refined that technique for.
I'm going to pause there to say, so far I don't necessarily disagree with that, but the question is like who's the we, right? Yes, the U.S. intelligence agencies and their, you know, friends in the press and, you know, the opinion makers, so to speak, have certainly done that when it comes to foreign leaders and other countries. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's about to explain this, but am I getting the impression that like the same forces responsible for lying to us about Saddam Hussein are now lying to us about Elon Musk being a bad guy?
Yes.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Come on, Matt.
Domestic people who are inconvenient. You know, I think they did it with Trump, obviously. You know, they try to do it with Tucker Carlson, with you. You know, I mean, you got a taste of that for a few times.
Yeah, it's interesting,
right? And then, you know, with Elon, he went from being the guy who made electric cars sexy to, like, you know, something to the right of Viktor Orban in like 10 seconds. It's amazing.
It is amazing, and the narrative is spread through progressive people. Well, they'll just say it now. It's like they've reached the memo. The memo's got to them, and then they just. I hear people in L.A. I hear people that I know like, "Oh, Elon's just so crazy." It's like something happened to him. He went nuts, and he's a right winger now. Like, how? What are you saying? Like, what examples do you have? Like, they don't have an example.
I spoke to a lot of people across the plant. By the time they fired me, I had people ready and willing to walk out if we said to. And they fired me because I tried to improve the lives of my coworkers and myself. That's why they fired me, because it wasn't a part of Elon's plan.
They don't have an example.
Someone got their leg ran over on the line. People got sent out for exhaustion. People throwing up at random because of not drinking enough water. Management never really cared. All they care about is hitting numbers, doing whatever they can to please Elon.
Do you think that this is sustainable? This pace is sustainable?
Yeah. They don't have an example.
When you've got over 100 people who have said they've been called the N-word at the Tesla factory in Fremont, that's pretty overwhelming evidence that there's a problem there.
At Tesla, they have these computers that you're able to use at lunchtime, and you have access to Elon Musk's direct email. I tried with my manager, I talked to HR, nothing was getting done, so I felt like I had to speak to him. I just wrote him a letter, what was going on, explaining what was going on, how I was feeling, how people online were feeling, and I never heard nothing back. I just ended up losing my job.
They don't have an example.
Phase 1, a non-black associate doesn't like you. They see your work ethic and they're intimidated by you, so they're trying to sabotage you. Phase 2. From there, they try to get a reaction out of you. They start calling you all kinds of names or acting like that they're doing it jokingly, even though you're not supposed to use those terms at work. Use an N-word or monkey or slave, or, they'll refer to you in all these different type of ways, but sometimes they'll do it in a way where they try to mask it as if they're joking with you and kind of wait for a reaction. Let's say you gave them a reaction. Phase 3 would be they bring it up to their management. They have a conversation with you. They don't tell you that they're going to give you a verbal. They'll skip that and go straight to giving you a write-up. And phase 4 is that they'll try to make it seem like they're assessing the situation by moving you away from that person who you may feel is causing you harassment in some shape or form. But what they're actually doing is they're moving you somewhere else where they're going to work you just as hard. That'll force you to quit.
They just have this narrative that reached them, the signal. Like, Elon bad now. Oh, right. Elon bad now. Elon bad now. Elon bad now. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be...
I really am just so disappointed in Matt Taibbi to see how he has regressed over the years. This is a guy who, has done some writing I found valuable. He's someone who, I thought was perfectly capable of speaking truth to power, and but yeah, I don't get it. I guess it's as simple as what you point out there, the way his bread is buttered. And we've seen Glenn Greenwald and a lot of these other folks that were, vaguely left-ish. And maybe that's part of it, is these people never necessarily were principled politically. They just happen to be on the outside looking in.
Right.
And so Matt Taibbi, who wrote eloquently about, Goldman Sachs and the role they played in destroying the global economy. Elon is one of those people, right? He's one of these oligarchs. And there's this, this sort of cultural conflict, team red, team blue cultural conflict that I think the Greenwalds and the Taibbis are sort of responding to more so than reality.
Right. And, there's...
Because to hell with the liberal media, right. I think a lot of the stuff they're saying about Democrats and liberal media, it's not that it's not true, it's that I think they have become the mirror image of what they're opposing. They are just as obsessed with, what's the discourse on Twitter and, who's canceling who and that kind of shit. And not actually any sort of deeper analysis or deeper look at what's happening. And, it's just, it's disappointing because I thought Taibbi, well, I know he knows better.
Yeah, it's bizarre, and it's bizarre to, and I don't doubt that there are some people who just hear Elon bad and they say Elon bad and they don't really know why. But Taibbi knows why. Taibbi knows why, and he knows that maybe some of the reasons aren't the best, but he knows the good reasons.
Right. I mean, 20 years ago, there were people who were going around thinking, George W. Bush, he sucked, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe they didn't know why. Maybe that was what they picked up.
Or maybe it was
Saturday
even
Night Live. And,
right. Yeah. Maybe it was even bad reasons. Like maybe they didn't like him because he had a Texas drawl or something, and that's a bad reason to not like somebody. But you still shouldn't like him, right? And
right. I mean, and that's my point. Like Taibbi would have known. Of course,
right.
There were people who were opposed to Bush for silliness or stupidity, but that doesn't change the fact that he was a man worth opposing.
Yeah.
Okay, and just because there is a liberal media who ostensibly opposes conservative figures, okay, like that doesn't mean that that's going to shape how I feel about those particular figures necessarily. I am capable of recognizing the deficiencies and the propaganda within both a liberal media space and a right-wing media space, the way they play against each other, in the way their celebrities are elevated by one side and, demonized by the other. Okay, well, I just don't understand what he's trying to get at there. It's not necessarily new either, but I don't get it. I don't get it. Yeah, there's liberal media. Yeah, there's conservative media. And yeah, it's a lot of entertainment and a lot of nonsense. And are there people who jump on bandwagons? Sure. That doesn't change the material realities that Elon Musk is a billionaire oligarch.
Right.
Who exploits and oppresses people and is a bad person, a bad factor in the equation of human life. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Like all of humanity on this planet. Is Elon Musk really helping us? Is Jeff Bezos really helping us? Is Donald Trump really helping us? Right. I'm not interested in picking this team of billionaires versus that team of billionaires. Right. And I see Taibbi going down that same road. Like, yeah, because you can see the bullshit on the liberal side creeping farther and further away towards that conservative side. I'm just sad. There's more to the world and thinking about the world than these two sides that are created by media.
Sad.
But I guess some of these folks are playing that game. Even folks who have been legitimate critics. All these years, people have done good work. There again, it's kind of like Whitmire. He's had good comments on the nature of power, and his solution is to find our own folks to be in power.
Find a billionaire that makes good memes.
And I mean, so it's the same thing. And so I'm sure Taibbi would not consider himself liberal. But I don't see how...
he's got a liberal in there somewhere.
Right, yeah. I don't see how it's really any different.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.